So the idea is that before we can learn to build a new style, we maybe learned the basics of dry stone walling, but now there are some more artistic, more creative ways to use the stone. I had 6 students from a local school for paving and landscaping, and I wanted them to experiment first and get a feel for laying stone vertically, which is sometimes not so intuitive, where you actually, instead of running the stone this way, which is okay, sometimes for the purpose of being able to teach a lot of people at the same time, and also if the stone allows it, we build something where the stones are vertical, and it's sometimes called a wedge wall, and it's very strong because the stones wedge down into the other stones and actually create a bond and some dynamic strength across the wall. And it was fun to watch the students as they stop themselves from doing this. A lot of times I had to say no in my bad English, in my very bad German. So to get them to think about how and why you would stand stones on end vertically and create a new pattern, a new rhythm that has, I think, more strength in certain occasions than laying the stones in flat courses. I like teaching this because it's different, but also, as I said, because you can teach more students at the same time, because if you leave spaces between your uprights, and I don't know if you can see this on the film, you can then go along and say, okay, this one goes here, no, it goes here, maybe it goes here, and you can actually have more people working on the wall at the same time. And you can work with fairly irregular stone. You can look at a stone and say, I don't see how I must use that stone that way. And I say, no, you can actually use it that way, as long as it still goes into the wall, and you have to leave room on the other side. You can actually build quite a strong wall and quite a tall wall. Again, you have to bring in the boulders on the outside, or the standard column of stone that we're more familiar with, where you lay flat stones for your mass, and then your upright stones have something to lean against. So it's a marriage between this style and this style, which is good. You have both. You don't say one is better than the other. And so I had 6 students, and I showed them. I built one for them, and then they gathered stone from the wall, from the pile that we're going to build the wall from, and then they were then integrated into the students who had been here the day before and already were familiar with how to build. So as I explained with the miniatures, we now come to the big wall, and we have to have the column on either end of our wall to support the uprights so that they don't fall away on the outsides. And so this is a more standard way, or a more typical way we think of building. And the wall has to be wide enough that it accommodates some of these very big stones. If you're too narrow, as you put your stones in, they leave no room for stones on the other side. So we have a wide wall, and then we can put a big stone like this in, which goes back into the wall, and then another one, and then we wedge other stones between them, always as much as we can go into the wall, and then use pieces of hearting of different sizes. Gravel sometimes is a little too small, so we use broken pieces and wedge the stones at the back as well as at the front. The surprising thing is that our pile of stone at first looks like, how can you do this? This looks different than that. But if you search the stones, if you break them and you are patient, you can extract from a pile of stone like this faces that are begin to look like, well, you have a lot of flat stones, but we don't. It's a matter of meshing the stones and finding faces that are flat enough and long enough. Whatever stone you pick up has, even a fragmented stone like this, rather than laying it like that in the wall, we say, okay, it's actually more face here, and maybe I can put it here and then wedge it at the back, and I have now created a look of verticality rather than horizontal. And as I said, again, a student can come along and rather than have to always work in this area, and sometimes they can't, what they will do is they will go along and they say, okay, where else can I put this stone? And that leaves them some options which are, and sometimes they can't use the stone, so they can also just put it in the back as part of the hearting. This is a fairly standard way of building in parts of Majorca and in Ireland. If the stones had been more regular, we could have tried herringbone. It's challenging for new students to build this way, but not necessarily much more challenging than trying to lay all the stones flat, horizontal, perfectly. Sometimes that kind of walling can look worse because they haven't managed to keep the lines straight and flat. This way it accommodates some character, some imperfections which still are not structurally critical and a problem. I'm very happy to be working with these students from, as I said, from the trade school, and I think we can safely say that we will probably finish this length of wall in the time that I'm here in Austria and working with Mario. I'm very privileged to be here. Thank you. Inside, if my students are doing it right, and I am watching them, they understand that the inside is built very similar to the outside, in that the stones have to be upright inside to continue the wedge, the feeling of wedge. So you have to make sure that the bottoms are pinned properly down in here so that they don't drop. And sometimes you have to wait to find a good stone to do that, which I can't find right now. And then, you need something different. What do we have? Here we go. Where was I? In there. Yes. And then keep the upright happening. And this area is called the hearting or the pinning. And if you don't do this right, the stones eventually after a few years slump down in here. So I tell my students that this part is as important, if not more important, than the outside. Often you get people who just want to build on the outside, so we have to learn to and see there's things missing in here. We've got garbage in here. We have to break up some more stones and fill this area flat before we put our next stone in. If we don't fill this flat, then we're straddling the outside but not filling the inside. And as you see, the wall is wide enough that we can put some still big ones in and still have room on this side to build in this way. It's pretty good through here. I have to make sure that tomorrow we break up some stone and fill these areas first. But here you see from here on, it's much better, much continuous of the upright. And here is a beautiful place for a nice stone ready to be put in because we've made it flat to the back. And this wall is going to become taller again. We add some more stones to the column, and then we work our way this way. Mario, can I go up and take a picture from your deck, your balcony? I think your door is locked.
But I made a lot of pictures with the drone. You can have them.
Okay, I would like to take one just now.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think
You think
it's just
it's not locked?
no, I don't.
Oh, okay.
Normally,
Okay.
we just lock it if we are not at home.
Yeah,
But
but I think